you've stood by many, many survivors, even survivors that weren't being stood by. Do you have a position on that, or is you just kind of do whatever you think is the best?
It's really hard, you know. I get a lot of I got a lot of people with Evan Rachel Wood, the actress Evan Rachel Wood, who had not. I'm not in any camp on that. I'm not, you know, but I got a lot of bullying from people on her behalf. Why haven't you, you know, talked about Marilyn Manson? Why haven't you? And all I can say is, you know, for me, I didn't experience that, but also this person hadn't come out and named anything yet. There was nothing to support. For me, it's a case by case basis, and there's just so many that you kind of can't do it all. But I I I would say to the people out there that are supporters of people, don't bully. Don't bully. Like, I was really bullied nastily by her supporters, I would say. And for me, all I can say is, you know, in my relationship with him, that wasn't a factor. I didn't experience that. I hate it when I see like someone defending someone and saying, "Well, they never did it with me, so these other people must be lying." I don't know. I was not there. I hate anybody suffering. I hate anybody hurting. But I also, you know, I don't understand, and of course not everybody will be telling the truth. That's another component that's extremely hard to deal with, for me, just psychologically, because I don't understand why the hell anybody would ever want to wear that mantle if it's not in fact true. I can't psychologically grasp why you would want that kind of attention. And then also because the second you do come out, everyone's like, "You're lying. You're just doing it to get attention." You're like, "I was already famous, dickweed." Um, in my case, there's so many. It's a case by case, but also it's you have to fight your own battles too, and get and people that have a name, they have to fight their own also with support. I hope, and I hope that now that's gotten a lot better. But there's, I would say, almost more land on the don't bully people into doing it. The people that, like on the Britney side, they did it in a really respectful way, and that's why I responded kind of well to that.
So I'm going to read some of this to you. I'm not going to read the entire chapter. I'm only going to read what's relevant. Couple of objections before I get into this. Some people say that it is irrelevant if Rose McGowan had only positive experiences with Marilyn Manson, because people can be different to different people. In other words, the idea is that he could have been this wonderful gentleman and caring boyfriend and fiance to Rose McGowan for 3.5 years, but also be this horrible abusive monster to other women. Well, I just don't believe that someone can be that different. To me, the idea that he would put on this fake self for 3.5 years, even after they got engaged, right? And they're living together and they're going on tour and they're together all this time, but he's got this fake mask on for 3.5 years. No, I don't believe that. So I think that what we get in here is an accurate depiction of who Marilyn Manson was. All right, so let's look at this. And by the way, she was also with him when he was using drugs. She mentioned later, sometime later, several years later, in an interview about why they broke up, and she alluded to the cocaine problem. So this is not a situation where he was nice and sober with her, but then he started doing drugs, and then he got out of control and became this monster. That's not the case, all right? And also, I just want to say, she talks about lots of other exes in this and lots of other, you know, male friends and men in her background and her family and all of that. And she accuses lots of different men of being abusive, including Robert Rodriguez, the director that she dated and got engaged to. So again, I'm just wanting you to give you some context about this before I start reading it. Okay? We had so much fun. We truly did. But still, I was plagued with night terrors and post-traumatic stress disorder. This is from Harvey Weinstein and other stuff that she had been through that she describes in the book before that. The first year we were together, Manson patched me back together after the assault. I didn't tell him what had happened for the first few months, but finally he asked a girlfriend of mine, "What's wrong with Rose?" I was waking up screaming at night, soaking the sheets with my night sweats. My friend told him the truth, and Manson was so sweet with me. Finally, some kindness. Now you're hearing what she's saying? She's saying not only was Manson not abusive, but that he was the one who patched her back together after she'd been abused by all these other people in her background. And she says, finally, some kindness. That's right. So the first person that she's mentioned in the book, the first man who's shown her a lot of kindness, Marilyn Manson. He was a very misunderstood person. Even though the media had dealt with controversial musicians like Alice Cooper or Ozzy Osbourne, and rational people knew it was all an art performance, with Manson, they really bought it. They really thought he spent his nights skinning puppy dogs alive and boiling them in vats of acid while saying, "Hail Satan!" In reality, the exact opposite was going on. You hear what she's saying? He was the exact opposite of that scary, monstrous image. The truth was that at the time when he wasn't creating music, Manson was painting watercolors of my Boston Terriers while I was ordering glassware from Martha Stewart's online shop. We basically hid out from the world at home, totally domestic, when we weren't on the road having mad escapades. I was happy because I could forget about what had happened to me, at least during the day. Nevertheless, people thought it was bizarre that I was going out with him. When they freaked out about it, I'd think, but you're bizarre to me. This is someone who's kind to me, who's taking care of me. Manson always saw to my needs and paid great attention to detail, and we fell in love. When I ran off with the Manson circus, I didn't really work for about 3.5 years. She didn't really work. She was with him almost the whole time, 3.5 years. It was a blast, and we were madly in love, and anybody who thinks differently is wrong. It was a pretty legendary relationship, not just in the media. It was a pretty legendary relationship behind the scenes, too. We had a whole lot of amazing. She says, this was a man I'd nicknamed Doctor, because if I even looked like I had a headache, he'd say, "Do you need an aspirin? Tylenol? Are you okay? Can I help you?" He was so considerate of me, so gentle. All right, so that's what she's saying about him, and so that's it. That's her take on Marilyn Manson.